Wonder Woman is one of the most recognizable superheroes ever created, but most people only know one version of her. The truth is, DC has built dozens of wildly different Wonder Women across the multiverse, from noble warriors to bloodthirsty tyrants to a woman literally raised in hell. Today, I'm breaking down every single one, starting with the original Diana Prince. Diana Prince is the gold standard. She's the version every other Wonder Woman is measured against, and honestly, most of them don't even come close. Born from clay shaped by Queen Hippolyta and brought to life by the gods of Olympus, Diana wasn't born the way anyone else was. She was sculpted, a divine creation designed from the ground up to be the champion of the Amazons. And here's what makes her different from basically every other superhero in existence. She wasn't forced into this. No dead parents, no radioactive accident, no prophecy she couldn't escape. Diana won the right to become Wonder Woman through the Amazons Championship contest, then voluntarily left paradise because she genuinely wanted to carry her people's message of peace, justice, and equality into man's world. She looked at a literal utopia and said, "I'm needed somewhere else." Her powers are about what you'd expect from someone handmade by gods: superhuman strength, invulnerability, flight, immortality. She's a founding member of the Justice League and one of the most powerful beings on the planet. But the thing that actually defines her isn't any of that. It's the lasso of truth. Forged by Hephaestus, blessed by Hestia, the lasso forces anyone bound within it to tell the absolute truth. No exceptions, no resistance, no limits on its length or strength. And the fact that Diana's primary tool is one that literally cannot lie tells you everything you need to know about her as a character. Her whole philosophy is built around the idea that truth is the foundation of justice. Not punishment, not vengeance. Truth. She's consistently characterized as kind, patient, and loving. Her heroism comes from genuine moral conviction, not trauma or obligation, which, in the world of superheroes, is almost unheard of. Most heroes fight because something terrible happened to them. Diana fights because she believes it's right. That's the whole motivation. And that distinction matters, because every version of Wonder Woman we're about to cover deviates from this baseline in increasingly dramatic ways. Some lose the kindness, some lose the truth, some lose everything. Speaking of which, the next version kept most of Diana's values intact, but the world around her, that fell apart completely. Diana, Kingdom Come. Most versions of Wonder Woman get reinvented. New origin, new powers, new personality. Kingdom Come Diana is the exact same person, and that's what makes her terrifying. Published in 1996, Kingdom Come is an Elseworlds miniseries, written by Mark Waid and painted by Alex Ross. It depicts a future where the original Justice League has disbanded, Superman quit, Batman went underground, and in their absence, a new generation of heroes rose up. Heroes who solve problems by leveling city blocks and calling it justice. Characters like Magog, who embody raw destructive force over restraint, have basically replaced the old guard. Classical heroism isn't just outdated in this world, it's embarrassing. And then there's Diana, standing in the middle of all of it, unchanged. She still believes in peace. She still believes in truth. She still believes in protecting people not because it's easy or fashionable, but because it's right. And in a world that has collectively decided those values are relics, that commitment becomes almost radical. She's not fighting supervillains. She's fighting an entire cultural shift that says heroism doesn't need a moral compass anymore. Here's the thing. Her most important moment in the entire story isn't a battle. It's a conversation. When Superman retreats to Antarctica, completely done with humanity, Diana is the one who tracks him down. She tells him about the catastrophe that destroyed Kansas. She doesn't beg. She doesn't guilt him. She just tells him the truth and trusts that the truth is enough to bring him back. And it is. That's her superpower in Kingdom Come. Not the strength, not the flight. Conviction. And Alex Ross's painted art sells every second of it. This isn't a stylized cartoon Diana. She looks like a statue that walked out of a museum, weathered and ancient and impossibly dignified. Ross paints her like she belongs to a different era entirely, which is exactly the point. She is from a different era. She's the last true believer in a world that stopped believing, and the art makes sure you feel that weight every time she's on the page. She maintains all of Prime Earth Diana's core powers, all of her values, all of her conviction. Nothing about her changed. The world just moved on without her, and she refused to move with it, which honestly is more heroic than punching a god. But if Kingdom Come Diana represents the same hero in a darker world, the next version represents a completely different person wearing the title, and she was created by Stan Lee himself, Maria Mendoza. Every version of Wonder Woman we've talked about so far became a hero because they believed in something. Maria Mendoza became one because someone she loved was murdered. Stan Lee reimagined Wonder Woman from the ground up in his Just Imagine series, and he didn't just swap out the costume. He threw out the entire mythological framework. Maria isn't an Amazon. She's not from paradise. She's the daughter of a Peruvian judge, working as an activist in Cusco, protesting the excavation of an ancient Incan holy site by a businessman named Armando Guitez. And when I say businessman, I mean the kind of guy who murders a judge to get what he wants, that judge being Maria's father. Here's the thing, Maria doesn't discover some ancient destiny and reluctantly accept the call to heroism. She sneaks onto Gitez's excavation site specifically to get revenge. That's it. That's the mission. Not peace, not justice, not I must serve mankind. Her dad is dead, and she wants the man who did it to pay, which is, a pretty different starting point than I shall leave my island paradise to bring harmony to the world of men. But what she finds on that site changes everything. Buried in the ruins is the Tupac Yauri, the legendary staff of light used by Manco Capac, the son of the Incan gods, to found the city of Cusco. And the staff doesn't just sit there waiting to be picked up. It recognizes her. It senses her spirit, her compassion, her courage, and it chooses her as the new sun goddess. So Maria walks in looking for revenge and walks out glowing, literally glowing. Her eyes turn white, a streak of white light runs through her hair, and she gains enhanced strength, durability, reflexes, agility, and the ability to glide. She sets up operations in Los Angeles, but originally comes from the village of Santa Elia near the ruins of Cusco, keeping her grounded in a very specific place and culture rather than floating around in some abstract mythological space. And that's what makes Maria significant beyond just being a cool alternate version. This is Wonder Woman rebuilt entirely outside European mythology. No Greeks, no Romans, no Olympus. The power comes from Incan gods. The setting is Peru, and the character is a Latin American activist whose heroism starts with grief and fury, not duty or philosophical conviction. The divine still validates her. The staff still chose her, but her entry point into this world is anger and loss, and that matters. She's not a princess leaving paradise. She's a woman who lost her father and stumbled into godhood while trying to make someone pay for it. But if Maria's origin feels personal and grounded, the next version of Wonder Woman comes from somewhere far less familiar and far less human. Becca. Every version of Wonder Woman we've talked about so far has been some form of Diana. Different universe, different circumstances, but still Diana at the core. Becca is not Diana. She's not even from the same mythology. She's a new god from New Genesis, pulled straight out of Jack Kirby's Fourth World, and she's wearing the Wonder Woman title like a borrowed jacket. Here's the thing, Becca is the daughter of the scientist He-Man and the granddaughter of Highfather, which makes her essentially royalty in the cosmic hierarchy of New Genesis. She married Orion as part of a peace treaty between New Genesis and Apocalypse. Sounds noble. Sounds like the kind of political marriage that might actually work. It was a trap. The entire wedding was a tactical deception orchestrated by her own family. After the ceremony, Becca's people killed Orion and his family, every single one of them. Becca knew what was coming. She tried to pull Orion away before the attack, tried to save the man she'd just married, but it didn't matter. She watched him get slaughtered by her own relatives anyway. So she grabbed a mother box that Orion had gifted her, fled to Earth, and became Wonder Woman. As one does after your family commits mass murder at your reception. As a new god, Becca possesses superhuman strength, nigh immortality, and combat skills sharp enough to make her a genuine threat with a sword in her hand. Her father, Hyman, invented sentient mother box computers and discovered the X-element that fuels Metron's Mobius chair, which means she comes from a bloodline of scientific genius that traditional Diana's world never even approaches. She's a warrior, a refugee, and the daughter of the smartest man on New Genesis all at once. But here's where it gets complicated. Becca's most distinctive ability is her power to manipulate and amplify emotional attraction in others. Not subtly, not a little nudge. She can make people fall so uncontrollably in love with her that they fight each other over her affections or follow her commands without question. Which is, not ideal for someone claiming to be a hero. And that's the question that makes Becca genuinely fascinating. When people rally behind her, when they trust her, when they die for her, is that heroism? Or is that mind control with better branding? She never asked for this power. She doesn't seem to weaponize it intentionally, but the result is the same. People around Becca lose their ability to choose freely, and she benefits from it whether she wants to or not. Every act of loyalty directed at her carries an asterisk. Voiced by Tamara Taylor in the Justice League Gods and Monsters animated film, Becca is the first version on this list whose heroism is built entirely on a foundation of family betrayal and involuntary displacement. She didn't choose to be Wonder Woman. She ran out of places to hide and needed something to be. But if you think a refugee from a cosmic war has it rough, wait until you see what happens when Wonder Woman wakes up and the entire planet is already dead. Wonder Woman, Dead Earth. Most versions of Wonder Woman have backup. They've got the Justice League, the Amazons, Steve Trevor, at least one functioning government somewhere on the planet. Dead Earth Diana wakes up from cryogenic sleep and has literally none of that. No allies, no civilization, no Themyscira, just a nuclear wasteland and monsters the size of skyscrapers, which is, not ideal. Written and illustrated by Daniel Warren Johnson for DC's Black Label imprint, this 4-issue limited series drops Diana into a future where Earth has been completely destroyed. Centuries have passed. Humanity is almost extinct. The Amazons are gone. Every single person Diana ever knew, ever fought beside, ever loved, is dead, and she's still alive. Because of course she is. She's immortal. That's the gift the gods gave her. Except now it's not a gift. Now it's a prison sentence with no parole date. Here's the thing about Dead Earth that separates it from every other dark Wonder Woman story. It's not just that the world is ruined, it's that Diana might have ruined it. The series slowly reveals that she may bear direct responsibility for the catastrophe that turned Earth into a graveyard. The woman who swore to protect humanity might be the reason humanity needs protecting in the first place. That's not a villain origin story. That's something worse. That's a hero who has to keep being a hero while knowing she might be the monster. She still has the powers. Superhuman strength, invulnerability, flight, immortality, all of it. But what good is flight when there's nowhere to fly to? What good is invulnerability when the thing hurting you is guilt? Diana spends the series protecting the last human city from titanic creatures roaming the wasteland, fighting with everything she has, because that's who she is. But the question Dead Earth keeps asking over and over is whether that's enough, whether commitment to peace and truth and protecting the vulnerable means anything when there's no society left to express those values through. No laws, no institutions, no community, just Diana, some terrified survivors, and an endless horizon of rubble. Every other Wonder Woman on this list operates within some kind of structure. Even Flashpoint Diana had a war to fight and an army behind her. Dead Earth, Diana has a broken sword and the knowledge that she might have ended the world. Her moral compass doesn't break. Exactly. It bends. She's still trying to do the right thing, but the right thing gets a lot harder to define when civilization has collapsed and the person you trust least is yourself. The isolation is what makes this version hit different. Immortality is a fun power when you're surrounded by people who matter to you. When every single one of those people has been dead for centuries and you're standing alone in radioactive dust, wondering if it's your fault. Immortality stops being a superpower and starts being the cruelest joke the gods ever told. But if Dead Earth Diana's moral compass bends under pressure, the next version on this list snapped hers in half a long time ago. Superwoman, Earth 3. Every version of Wonder Woman we've covered so far has been some shade of hero. Different origins, different powers, different universes, but all of them fundamentally wanted to protect people. Superwoman doesn't. Superwoman wants to watch the world burn, and she's got the resume to prove it. She's a member of the Crime Syndicate of America, which is exactly what it sounds like. Take the Justice League, flip every moral compass 180 degrees, and you've got a team of the most powerful beings in their universe using that power to dominate, terrorize, and control. Superwoman is their Wonder Woman, and she earned that spot in the most horrifying way possible. See, on Earth 3, the Amazons still exist. Superwoman came from them, trained among them, and by all accounts became one of the deadliest warriors her sisters had ever produced. And then she turned on them. Not a clean break, not a philosophical disagreement. She went rogue, betraying the Amazons and everything they stood for, abandoning her own people to pursue raw, unchecked power alongside the worst beings in her universe. Diana left paradise to save strangers she'd never met. Superwoman looked at the women who raised her, who fought beside her, who shared her blood and her culture, and she decided they were beneath her. That's not just villainy. That's betrayal at the most fundamental level. And her personal life isn't exactly a beacon of stability either. She's married to Ultraman, the evil Superman equivalent, while maintaining an open relationship with Owlman, the evil Batman. The whole dynamic operates on a framework where loyalty and trust aren't virtues, they're weapons. Every relationship is a power play. Every alliance is temporary leverage. It's like watching 3 nuclear warheads play chess with each other's launch codes. Now in terms of raw power, Superwoman is genuinely terrifying. She possesses superhuman strength strong enough to rip open the thick metal doors of Arkham Asylum with her bare hands. She's got flight, superhuman speed, and durability that let her tank hits from some of DC's heaviest hitters. But here's where it gets interesting. She also has heat vision. Traditional Diana doesn't have heat vision. Earth 3 didn't just invert her morality. It enhanced her destructive potential, like the universe looked at Wonder Woman's power set and said, you know what this needs? Eye lasers. Which is, not ideal for everyone else. But the real problem is her staying power. Superwoman has Amazonian durability and longevity that make her extraordinarily difficult to put down for good. You can beat her, you can knock her out. She gets back up. That's not just evil. That's near unkillable evil with a grudge and heat vision, which might be the worst combination of words in the English language. And she's not some glass cannon hiding behind her teammates either. Superwoman has gone toe-to-toe with Prime Earth Wonder Woman, the real Diana, and held her own. Their clashes are brutal, devastating, the kind of fights that leave craters where buildings used to be. Diana Diana ultimately prevails, because of course she does, but the fact that Superwoman can stand across from the greatest Amazon in any reality and make her work for it tells you everything you need to know. The woman who betrayed every Amazon in her reality can trade blows with the best one. But if Superwoman represents what happens when you corrupt Wonder Woman's soul while keeping her strength, wait until you see what happens when you corrupt her entire timeline. Wonder Woman, Flashpoint Paradox. Every other evil Wonder Woman on this list has an excuse. Superwoman was born into a universe where everyone is evil. Becca came from a completely different mythology. But Flashpoint Diana, she had every single opportunity to be the hero. Same powers, same Amazonian heritage, same potential for greatness. And she chose to become a tyrant, responsible for the deaths of millions of people. Let that sink in for a second. In the Flashpoint timeline, Diana is described as cruel, sadistic, bloodthirsty, tyrannical, and merciless. Those aren't fan interpretations. That's her actual character profile. She serves as one of two secondary antagonists, alongside Aquaman, and together they wage a war so devastating, it threatens to destroy the entire planet. We're talking about a conflict between the Amazons and the Atlanteans that literally sinks entire countries. This isn't a misunderstanding or a tragic fall from grace. This is a woman with godlike power who looked at the world and said, yeah, I'm going to conquer it. And here's what makes her genuinely terrifying. She's not stupid. Flashpoint Diana possesses documented diplomatic skills and military strategy on top of her superhuman strength, durability, reflexes, flight, and weapons mastery. She could negotiate. She could lead through inspiration. She could broker peace between two civilizations and probably have it done before lunch. She has every tool that Prime Earth Diana uses to be one of the greatest heroes alive. Instead, every atrocity she commits is calculated. Every death is a decision she made with full awareness of the alternatives. A mindless brute you can almost forgive. An intelligent, strategic mind that chooses mass murder? That's something else entirely. The sword detail is one of those small things that tells you everything. Prime Earth Diana leads with the lasso of truth. Her first instinct is to seek understanding, to find the truth in a situation. Flashpoint Diana leads with a blade. One reaches for honesty, the other reaches for blood. Her ruthless nature reportedly allowed her to use her powers in a more dangerous fashion than any heroic version of herself, which makes sense. Restraint is a choice, and she stopped making it. When you remove the moral ceiling from someone with the power of a god, what you get isn't a villain. It's a natural disaster with opinions. Millions dead, not thousands. Millions. Her arc doesn't end with redemption either. There's no last-minute realization, no sacrifice to make things right. As Atlantis' doomsday weapon activates, she's held in Aquaman's arms, and then she's either killed by the blast or simply ceases to exist as the Flashpoint timeline collapses entirely. She doesn't even get the dignity of consequences. No trial, no reckoning, no moment where she has to face what she's done. The universe just erases her, like a rough draft, which is somehow the most fitting end possible. She built nothing worth saving, so nothing was saved. Not a single person mourns her. Not a single timeline bothers to remember her. That's the legacy she earned. Superwoman was born evil. Flashpoint. Diana became evil, and that distinction matters, because it means somewhere inside that version of her was the same potential for kindness, patience, and love that defines the real Wonder Woman. She had the blueprint. She had the raw materials. She just never bothered to build anything good with them. But if you think Flashpoint represents the most radical departure from who Diana is supposed to be, wait until you see what happens when you raise her in literal, hell, absolute Wonder Woman. Every single version of Wonder Woman we've talked about so far shares one thing in common. They all started with some version of the Foundation. Amazons, Themyscira, Divine Blessing, a community that shaped who they became. Absolute Wonder Woman throws all of that into a furnace, literally. Written by Kelly Thompson. Starting in 2024, this version of Diana was banished to hell as an infant. Not metaphorical hell, actual hell. Apollo cast her down as punishment, and she was raised on the Wild Isle by the sorceress Circe. If that name sounds familiar, it should. Circe is traditionally one of Diana's greatest enemies. In this universe, she's her mom. Here's the thing. Circe didn't want to be a mother. She found this baby dumped in her domain, and her first instinct was not exactly maternal warmth, but she fell in love with the kid anyway. Despite every fiber of her being resisting it, she raised Diana, trained her, and taught her magic. In hell, surrounded by demons, which is, not ideal, but the changes go way deeper than the address. Instead of the lasso of truth, Absolute Diana carries the Nemesis lasso, forged by Circe herself. This thing doesn't doesn't compel you to tell the truth. It burns you according to your sins. One asks, what is true? The other asks, what do you deserve? That single weapon swap tells you everything about this version of the character. She's not here to liberate you, she's here to judge you. On top of that, she carries the Athena blade, a massive axe, and a magical bag with seemingly infinite storage. Basically, she walks around with an entire armory in her purse. Apollo didn't just banish Diana either. He used his powers to prevent Circe from even speaking the word Amazon. The entire concept of Diana's heritage was locked behind a divine gag order, which means Diana had zero idea who she really was. She had to figure it out herself through her own research, her own determination, her own stubborn refusal to accept that she didn't belong anywhere. She found the Amazons on her own terms and accepted her role as their champion because she chose it. Her identity wasn't inherited, it was earned. Thompson also writes Diana as explicitly queer, and the reasoning is perfect. Diana grew up in hell with demon pets. She has zero framework for human gender constructs. Her queerness isn't a statement, it's a natural consequence of her completely alien upbringing. The broader theme is transformative love, the idea that genuine attachment can survive and even flourish in the most hostile environment imaginable. Circe loving Diana, despite herself. Diana loving creatures that would terrify anyone else. Connection persisting where it has no business persisting. And that's what makes Absolute Diana the perfect version to end on. Every dark reimagining we've covered today became worse when their circumstances got harder. Flashpoint Diana turned into a tyrant. Superwoman butchered her own sisters. Give the character tragedy and she breaks. Absolute Diana was raised in literal hell by her greatest enemy, surrounded by demons, cut off from her heritage by a god who wanted her erased, and she still chose to be good. Nobody taught her to be a hero. Nobody gave her a paradise to grow up in. She clawed her way to heroism from the worst possible starting point, and she did it anyway. That's not just a reimagining. That's the argument that heroism isn't something you're born into. It's something you decide. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.